Hello and welcome to the 147th episode of the Gochuucast. And after putting it off for however long it's been since we had Mumi on the podcast, we finally have a new guest. Uh, Aeon of Horus, would you like to introduce yourself a bit more properly here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ian of Horus. I mainly make content about the Toaru franchise, which includes certain magical index and a certain scientific railgun, amongst other spin-offs in the franchise. And I do also make somewhat historical culture-based uh, videos to do with Japan and anime as well, but that's a rarity. But yeah, I'm mainly known as the guy who talks about Toaru non-stop.
It's pretty good timing, honestly. Just put off the guest episode forever long, and then we finally get you in. Now we have two new Toaru anime things announced recently.
Is it two?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there was a new railgun announced, and then one of the
I knew that.
spin-offs, what is it, Dark Item or something like that? That also got announced for an anime.
yeah, that day was crazy because it's the 20th anniversary of the franchise, as the first volume of Index was released in 2004. And we were all expecting something like huge, like some kind of anime announcement or a new spin off of some kind. And it took like 2 months before the anniversary was over. Uh, and we got two new anime, which is absolutely mad. I remember like watching the live stream in Japan. That item got a spin off, which is a dark side group within the series. And I quit off the stream because I thought that was it. But everyone was like pinging me, going crazy on Discord. We got Railgun Season 4 as well. And I was acting like a complete madman because I've been waiting for some news for a long time. And then I thought, oh, we're going to get Index as well. But listen, I'm happy with those two. I'm really excited. Don't know when they're coming out, but still hyped.
Yeah, it's been since it was COVID when Railgun T aired. I'm pretty sure because I watched all the Toaru stuff with a friend. And I remember that was around the time we were going through, and then we got to season 3. Like, oh, this shit is like delayed right now because the world is in shambles. So that was, yeah, it's been a good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I consider myself a bit of a Toaru expert as well. I'm let's see, 10 episodes. Oh, I can't find it like that. 10 episodes into the first season of Railgun. 14 episodes in the first season of Railgun. So
You've been around the
I
block,
know
right?
I know quite a lot about the series. Honestly, everything there is to offer. I do have a funny story about Toaru, actually, though. Jokingly, I have a vivid memory of watching parts of Index long ago, like when I first started anime. I remember nothing about it, and I've never gone back to Index. But I do remember having started like the first couple episodes or so, and I don't remember if I liked it or not. I just remember that I did that at one point, and then just stopped.
Well, if you didn't continue watching it, clearly you must have not liked it. I mean, I
No,
say
that's
that, but
not how
you,
I work,
yeah, I
though.
know. That's how you might have
I
used to
was a
work, though.
I was a busy college student.
Okay.
Um,
What do you make of it now that you're rewatching? Is it Railgun?
I'm watching Railgun for the first time.
Watching Railgun.
It's
Right,
been
right.
like a year or so. I actually really liked Railgun. I just you may or may not be up to date with the podcast lore, but I like to start shows and I don't like to finish shows. Something happens somewhere in the middle and I just stop watching shows regardless of whether I like them or hate them. So, to illustrate this, let me real quick link for you my Annie list. And if you look at my list, you'll notice about 91 shows am I watching, and 17 paused, all with random seeming numbers of how much I've completed of them. So, no need for us to dwell on this topic too much.
So you kind of just get
However,
like a taste for like a show, and then you move on to the next thing. You just kind of want to see
yeah,
like as many shows as possible without actually committing to the end.
it's just like I'm very moody with how I watch things, I think. Like
Mm.
when I'm in the mood for a specific show, like I will binge a good amount, but then the next day I might just be like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling something like different vibes. Yeah, at some point I'll get back to Railgun. It's been
No,
when's the last time?
he won't get back to it. He says
No,
that.
I will
It's
get
not gonna
back to
happen.
it. No, I want to get back to it.
I mean, you should get back to it just to get to season 2 because I don't know.
Season 2
Season
is
1 has
really good.
aged perfectly well for me. It came out when there was like a huge like moe boom going on with like K-On! And everything, and I feel like the directors or producers were influenced by that as it took quite a different, I don't know, tone to the manga. I mean, you do have like the battles and the dark side of the city in there, but a lot of it is just cute girls doing cute things with superpowers and random fan service episodes that weren't in the manga. The manga like kind of has like better pacing. It gets to like the fights quicker, and then you're onto like the sisters arc stuff pretty soon. But season 1 of the anime, yeah, it can be a tough watch at times. Not gonna lie, especially for like new fans getting into it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so obviously the whole like watch order thing isn't as serious as it seems like, but also for new people getting in, the whole like the like various timelines that you could watch the shows, just mixing them together and stuff, is both cool and also intimidating to like think about, right? Realistically, you don't have to do it, but it's still like a
Yeah,
fun thing.
I do think some people like overcomplicate the watch order.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have seen Misty Conexia's video about like the Toaru watch order, like the chronological one. And it's like, oh, you gotta go from like one episode to Index, then switch to Railgun, and then
Yep.
back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, you're making it way too overcomplicated. Like, just don't do chronological order, please, because a lot of parts of Index and Railgun happen at the exact same time, so it's kind of impossible to do anyway. You're just best off watching it like the airing order. That's the one I
Yeah.
always recommend. Just watch it when it released.
Even if it's like seasons, like a simplified order where it's like, oh, watch like 1 and 2 of, which people obviously have, right? Like, oh, watch 1 and 2 of Railgun, and then watch 1 of Index or something like that, right? So on, so on. That's like easier to follow. But the complicated one is cool to see, and like funny to hear about.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
watched the like first 3 seasons of Railgun, and they were like, "Do we want to do Index?" But my friend and I fuck with Toma, so we're like, "All right, Index is his thing. It's like the main series. We'll watch that." And so we watched the 3 seasons of that, and then we watched Accelerator, and that kind of sucked ass. But that's it's not important.
Funny thing, the Accelerator anime is actually regarded as better than the manga.
It's a
Oh,
low
which
bar
is
to clear.
kind
I
of
see.
funny. Because they actually added some backstory for like the Hishigatas and Esper. We never got that in the manga, so they felt even more like cardboard cut out characters without that backstory. But at least they've fleshed out a bit more. But yeah, the Accelerator spin-off is not well regarded in the franchise at all. In fact, like the second arc, which hasn't been animated yet, it's like regarded as the worst Toaru arc of all time.
Oh.
I see.
So he
Yeah.
can only go downhill.
Accelerator
Yeah, it's weird
spinoff
because
just kind of feels like
it's weird
someone
because
playing with their action. Oh, sorry, God, Discord
oh no,
moment.
it's cool.
Just feels like someone playing with their action figures. Is kind of how I felt.
Yeah, it happens at a weird point in the timeline where they can't really do much with his character in between, but at the same time, for a character as deep and as complicated as Accelerator, who's actually regarded as one of the best characters in the series, even by fans who aren't, hardcore fans of the franchise, they really did him dirty in the spin-off. Like,
Mhm.
his character goes nowhere. He just comes across as super edgy when there's a lot more nuance to his character, especially in the light novels. Yeah, it's kind of rough.
How many Toarus are there? This might be a like complicated, loaded question because I guess like everything's separated in different ways. But obviously, there's
Yeah,
the
so
3 that everyone knows.
yeah.
And then-
So there's a Certain Magical Index, which is the main spin-off, and that has 3 light novels so far, which are basically part 1, part 2, part 3, kind of like JoJo without the swapping characters and all that. Then you got Railgun, which is spin-off of Index. Then you got Accelerator, and you got Mental Out, which follows a different level 5 Esper. Then you've got Item as well. Then you got a spin-off of Railgun, which is Astral Buddy, which follows one of the characters who appears in that. There's a lot, and then you also have like all the side stories. It's huge. It's basically really an expansive universe with different entries in the franchise.
Yeah, I don't think I actually knew the Mental Out one existed, or I definitely didn't know Astral Body. I think you said. I definitely had not heard of that one, but it's a lot because like even though I've gone through the entire series and I think it'd be interesting to read, I also like I think about how much of ReZero I've already read, and then I look at Index. I'm like, that's even longer than that shit, and so yeah, it's just it's a very daunting series to get into.
Are any of them finished?
No, I don't think so anyway.
Astral Buddy's finished, and
Okay.
oh yeah, another one which I forgot. A Certain Scientific Dark Matter, that's like 1 volume long.
Gotcha.
So that's like 4 or 5 manga chapters, so you can finish that easily in a few hours.
But the bulky ones like
Yeah, Astral
Railgun,
Buddy's like
Index,
30
yeah.
chapters. But those are the main spin-offs that have concrete endings. The rest are all ongoing, which is Accelerator finished as well, sorry. Yeah, that only has 2 arcs. That's finished. So yeah, we got Index still ongoing, Railgun still ongoing, Item, light novel, and manga still ongoing, and Mental Out still ongoing.
Nice. That is a lot.
It's
Yeah,
very
it's
old,
hard to keep up.
very a lot.
It
Full-time
is a
job.
it is a very interesting like world they've set up.
Hmm.
I remember thinking that in both Index and like when I came back to it and started watching Railgun, that just kind of the thought of like I like the setting and the idea. I don't have the full vision of like what they do with it, but still.
Yeah, the franchise is kind of like a double-edged sword, like Daniel's mentioned, because yes, it's so big and vast, and there's so many different, entries in the franchise that it's kind of daunting to get into. But at the same time, it does have that unique selling point, which is the fact that it's this ever-expanding universe with, it follows different characters within that universe and then tells stories that then complement the main work, which is Index, because often people outside the franchise think Railgun because it's more popular. That's like the main story. When it's not, it's Index, even though Index has been neglected. But yeah, it is a fascinating universe. Kamachi does have like the author of Index is called Kamachi Kazuma, and he has some crazy ideas which you probably seen in Index with mixed results in terms of how the anime's presented it. But the guy's a absolute mad genius. He comes up with some crazy ass ideas, and his mind is something else. I'll just say that.
It's very interesting going from like starting with Railgun. You really don't get a lot of the magic. You don't really get any of it actually. It's mainly like Toma's in it, but you don't really know jack shit about his power if you haven't watched like Index. So go into Index and like, all right, here's all this magic, and there's also all the science stuff still, but it's just a very, very, very big whiplash if you start Railgun and then move on to Index. There's this whole entire other side of the world that doesn't really get explored as much within Railgun.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I see on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, people say, "Oh, people should start with Railgun first," and I'm like, it's better to be introduced to the magic aspect first. And plus, like Kamachi, he intended that the magic side, that is what he came up with first when he was writing Index, and then the science side was made as a place where the magic would stand out. So it was like the secondary setting, even though it became the main setting and more popular than the magic side with fans. And yeah, I just don't like. I know it's not unintentional. People like Misaka as the main character in that, and they like the Railgun characters' dynamics with each other. I get that totally, but I don't like it when people neglect Index altogether because it is so important. As you don't have the world of Railgun, you don't have Academy City without all the magic stuff. And Railgun itself complements Index massively. If I don't want to go into spoilers too much for those who haven't seen it, but if you look at like even the first arc of sorry, if you look at the first arc
you
of
get it.
okay, if you look at the first arc of Railgun, it introduces like the AIM burst, which is this weird fetus-looking thing built up by a network of espers who have their brainwaves come together, which foreshadows not only the sisters arc but also artificial angels. And why would you think, oh, Academy City, the place of science, why are they producing artificial angels? Doesn't that seem a bit strange? It's because everything is influenced by magic. Like Academy City, who is leader of Academy City? It's Alistair. And who is Alistair? You only know this through watching Index. So it is really important, which is why I always recommend start with Index and then you get the context needed for Railgun, and then you can appreciate it more as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I started with the whole episode of Index at least.
it's something. Probably more than most people. Yeah, I remember getting to, like, Season 3 of Railgun. If I hadn't... I think actually before we even watched Season 3 of Railgun, because that got delayed, we did watch Index Season 1. And if we didn't do that, there's a scene in, like, at the end of the first half of Railgun where the main character of Index has some wild shit happen. And that would have, like, caught me completely off fucking left field, like, from left field if I hadn't watched Index first. Yeah, I can't say too much without spoiling it, but the word dragon would probably be all I need to say there. But
There's a dragon?
Something like that.
I'm interested. You have my
That's all it
attention.
took.
Daniel's gonna wake up
Yeah,
to a
there are
DM in the
dragons.
Daniel's gonna wake up to a DM in the Gochuucast DMs later and just see, alright, I finished all of Railgun.
Alright.
That'd be
Dragon.
pretty basic.
I'll hold you to that.
No, don't hold me to that.
Honestly, you could just skip it. I don't advocate for skipping ahead of content usually, but for Railgun anime, honestly, if you get a taste for who the characters are, you can skip ahead to Railgun S and then just watch the first 16 episodes of that, because those are absolutely amazing. JC Staff did a great job with those, and then the rest of it is a filler arc, so you can just skip that again. And then Railgun T was really good; they did justice on that. And then you've got a taste for what the Toaru franchise can be, because Index was done dirty in the anime, especially Index 3. The pacing was awful.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was gonna ask, because I have heard mixed things about the Index anime.
Yeah.
But also reading Index sounds intimidating.
I mean, you can just read the first volume of the Index light novel, but as it was intended as a one-shot, so it does kind of tell a complete story in itself, at least the first volume. It's just that it was so popular in Japan that obviously it got a sequel only like a month or two after the first volume came out, and then it turned into this crazy ass franchise. And I think Dengeki Bunko or one of the editors want like Index to have as many volumes as Gwyn Saga, which is I think the longest running light novel franchise, or if you class it as a light novel, I'm not sure, but novel franchise in Japan. And that's like over 100 volumes, I think. So that will take some time still if it does indeed go on for that long.
It's a lot. Like, I think of like 100 manga volumes. That's still a lot, but like fucking 100 novels is like an entirely different beast. Like, it's a lot of words. Like, a lot of words.
That's probably more than a single One Piece.
I mean, no, like, for sure. Like, 100 like, ReZero volumes versus, like, a volume of One Piece. Like, maybe on a technical level, like, page length, or, like, amount of pages probably wouldn't be horrifically different, because it's, like, what? It's probably a couple hundred pages for both manga and light novel. But it's just,
Yeah,
obviously,
I think so.
one is filled with words, and the other one has pictures and words. Mostly pictures, so... Yeah, it's It's at the very least more content, even if it's not more pages. That's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, I guess we can ask about any other anime that you have watched. I know you said before this you haven't, or you don't watch as much anymore. Um,
Is there
but
anything from this season? Or
I'm not really watching any at the current season. I'm not really a
yeah.
seasonal anime guy. I usually pick and mix stuff, which has happened from previous seasons, and then like if there's enough hype around it, I'll check it out. But back when I was 16, I was quite into like my seasonal anime. I was watching like was it Tokyo Ghoul, Kamiga Kill, all the shows that were coming out at that
Oh
time.
yeah. Okay.
That's kind of when I got like hardcore into anime around that time. I think it was like 2016 or 2015, something like that.
Okay, it's pretty early actually, compared to like I don't know, most of the people. I mean, I feel like most of my friends who I've talked to, it's kind of been like a more, even for us who we're like, adults now, but it's like a lot of us got into it like either during COVID or right before COVID or around that time period. So 15, 16 is pretty early relative to seems like relative to most people. So okay.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
mean,
because
I don't
I
know if your
keep
experience has
hearing,
been any
yeah.
different. Like when I was in like back in 2010, 11, I had like a couple friends who watched anime, but it was like a lot more, I shouldn't say niche, but like, yeah, I would say it was a more niche, like intentional hobby, comparing to like watching Dragon Ball or Pokemon or whatever on TV. But like, they used to watch like, I mean, this is a long time ago, so like Lucky Star, Azumanga Daioh. I forgot there was another one. I think a couple of them watched Clan Ed too. And but yeah, I don't know if your experience has been any different, but I feel like most people I've talked to have gotten into it like either, slightly before or slightly after when COVID hit. People just had more time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I keep hearing that online, but I don't really
For me, it
know
was the case,
anyone
yeah.
personally who got into like anime during COVID. But I know there's been like plenty of people who have done that. Just like no one I know in person. Maybe because I'm old. I don't know. But for me, I got into. I guess well, it depends what you count as anime. Because as a kid, I really liked Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. But the one show I kept watching was Naruto.
Yep.
But even then,
Same.
I had to play the video games to find out what happened at the end of part 1 of Naruto, because in the UK, they just kept showing the same arcs all over again. It kept showing the Tsunade rescue arc and wouldn't go, not the not the Sasuke rescue arc, the Tsunade Hokage arc when they were going to get her, I mean. But yeah, I had to play the video games to find out what happened at Shippuden and all that. But it took until, yeah, I don't know, 16, where I found out about other shows and that. I watched Death Note. I actually could watch anime online. So I just went from there, really. And yeah, in person back then, it wasn't really popular to like anime. I know it's kind of a cliche at the moment about, yeah, newer fans getting into it and ruining the anime fandom, or however people want to present it on Twitter, but I'm not sure I entirely agree, because I think, new people should be welcomed into it and everything. But I know some people can be, annoying or whatever, but I think it's wrong to stereotype everyone. That's what I'm trying to get at. But yeah,
Yeah.
back then, it was like, oh yeah, I was on like the the nerd table in my college or school,
Right.
and there were just like a bunch of us who would like fan over it. And I did introduce like one of my friends to like watch Code Geass and some other anime,
Oh,
and
that's
then he became a lot more
PK and I
into
love
it
that
thanks
anime.
to me. Yeah, yeah. So I was like the anime connoisseur back then, which sounds terrible, but oh, I was such a massive weeb back then. It became like the personality, like 100%. I've toned it down a lot now, despite me being an anime YouTuber. Whatever you might have believed about me prior, I don't know. But yeah, I'm less of a weeb now. I'm a bit more chill about it. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting to see how times change and that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're
I
not
do
careful, you
think.
might get called a
Go ahead.
tourist.
Oh no, not
Oh
another
yeah, there's a lot of
buzzword.
Twitter discourse on that, but
Shit
I
makes me
don't know.
cringe every time I see it.
Yeah. Um, I just I've just come to accept that like not come to accept it, like I've learned that like people just have different interest levels in whatever hobby they have. Like if people just want to watch like Dragon Ball or Naruto or whatever, let them be. I don't know. It's like
I get like the base sentiment behind those like complaints. Like if someone's coming after the hobby in terms of like someone only watches Dragon Ball and they're shitting on everything else because it's not Dragon Ball, okay,
sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
But if, like someone's just watching Dragon Ball and they haven't watched other things, like you can't just like oh
Yeah.
well you're not actually a fan, you're just a
Yeah.
tourist
There's so
or
many
whatever.
like things we do in daily life that we just have like a passing interest in, and that's like fine. I don't know. But yeah.
I'd say
I just
like
come out.
most.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd say like most things that people have like interest in are
Hmm.
more along those lines, right?
Yeah.
Um, people we don't think about it because the main thing that people really think about are their like big hobbies, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like everyone has a lot of smaller
Yeah.
hobbies
You
and
just
things
don't have
that they.
time to invest as much time into every single interest you have. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Daniel, I just don't have time to watch all 91
Oh no, I get
incomplete
you now.
See
anime.
that is not. I try
Sorry.
and help you every time. I always say you're not going to watch this. Take it off your list, and then you don't do that because you tell me you're going to watch it, and then you don't.
I take some of them off.
You take like of like the 50 things. I'm like you should take this off your list. You take like 3 of them off.
That's 3 more than I had off before.
Anyway, so what would you say is your favorite anime that isn't Toaru related?
Ooh, it's a tie. I like. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Gungrave, which is based off a video game,
I have at least
and
heard of it. Yes.
I've heard of
yeah,
it, not a lot of knowledge.
it's way better than like the original video game it was based off. It was like this crappy PS1, PS2 game, which was just for like drunks, Japanese salarymen to button mash after their shift. Uh, but this like expanded the story massively, and it's basically like a modern day Berserk, which has an actual ending. And oh my god, the ending is brilliant. Definitely recommend it. And the other one is Welcome to the NHK, which I think is
Oh
really
yeah,
well
I
written.
watched half of that. My friends recommended me that. I don't know. Maybe I didn't get to the good part, but what did you like about it? Like, what was you know, what was the best part about it? I guess it's like because I do
Oh,
want to finish it, but I just like never. Yeah, because I know it's like a lot of people praise that show.
yeah, it's interesting because when I got into it, I was basically 16, 17, and I was kind of immature.
Hmm.
And I kind of just enjoyed like the dark comedy elements of it back then, just like Sato being a complete degen with Yamazaki over the hentai games and everything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that shit was so funny. And then it went on to like, oh, I don't want to spoil it too much for people who haven't seen it, but then it went on to like the arcs after it, if you want to call them arcs or
Mhm.
episodes, were then kind of explored darker themes with regard to, I guess, problems that Japan is facing in society, if you want to say that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Whether
know
it's
it
the
goes
video
into a
game
lot of the
thing and then
yeah.
the pyramid scheme, all that. And yeah, I really enjoyed the characters. I like Yamazaki, his development. And yeah, I wouldn't say I found it relatable because I wasn't like a shut in like Sato or
Right.
anything. But I did relate to parts of it. And I think my appreciation for it has grown over time as I've gotten older because I think Sato was like 23 or something. He dropped out of college, did he? I think,
Right.
and just being in that same cycle, whether you know in work or whatever, or you're not in work for whatever reason, or whatever you do in life, you do feel like you're just trapped in the same monotonous cycle. I felt that about myself for like a few years. So, and part of like just appreciating life and just being willing to go out there and take that step outside into the real world. I think
Mhm.
you can use that metaphor in so many aspects of your own life. It doesn't have to be as drastic as Sato when at the end of the series, I won't spoil, but Yeah, so if I can sum it up like that, that's what I can think of.
Oh yeah, that's what I've heard. It's just a lot of like, I guess like more deeper themes, which I always appreciate when anime, um,
Mm.
you know, goes into. But yeah, I was just curious about it because I think I watched He Meets the Girl and like a few episodes after that, but I hadn't gotten much further than that. I just ended up watching something else. But okay, I'll keep it in the back of my head. Think about it one day if I have some time. Maybe I'll end up finishing it. But yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Let me know what you think about it, because it is. Do feel like it's a very unique anime.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what it
think you
seems
get
like.
like many. Yeah, you don't get many anime like that now. I don't think. And it was based on like an actual novel that was written by Hikikomori, and I think he based
Right.
Sato partially on his own experiences. I do want to read the novel at some point. I've got like one volume of the manga as well, but I do want to check out the novel. I've heard it's really good.
Okay. Awesome.
I feel like a lot of anime actually embrace that kind of lifestyle these days. Like, I mean, not all of them, but
Mm.
um, I mean, not in. I don't know. It's like every isekai you see, it's like, oh, yep, they were neat, and then died. Now here we are in the fantasy world where,
It's
you
more
know,
common in Japan, I think. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
How,
I
how
don't
do you
know.
guys feel about like isekai anime? Do you think it's like overbloated or?
Oh, baby.
I mean, it's complicated. I think not that I don't know. I think it's very overbloated with trash. Not that and there are good things in there, but I think more often than not, I watch an isekai and I'm like, yeah, it was kind of ass. I can probably count on one hand the amount of isekai I think are good. Maybe two.
I generally enjoy them. I'm gonna take the
Not that
opposite
they are not
stance.
that they can't be fun, but beyond just being fun. If I look at something and like, is this like actually good? Like, because there's bad and then there's like entertaining bad, right? There's plenty of entertaining bad isekai, but I don't think there are a lot of entertaining and good isekai. Like, I don't know, like ReZero, Bishoku Tensei, uh, those are like the two big ones. A lot of people like Slime. My opinion on it kind of wavers around, but Bookworm I enjoy. Weakest Tamer from last year I liked. But it's like it's a short list. But then you also have things like, I don't know, Reincarnated as a Vending Machine. And I had fun with that, but if I'm gonna like say with a straight face that I think it's like something good and that everyone should watch it, no, not really.
I will. It was good, so everyone should watch it. No. Vending machine was a time. I will say that.
Yeah, at this point I only watch isekai if they're like they kind of have to be something like Vending Machine. Like I had my slop watching, but it has to be slop with like a tag on it that just like
Fine
really
slop.
yeah, it has to be like fine cuisine slop, the most unique slop. Like nowhere else will I see a guy turn into a vending machine, so I have to watch it. But I've seen, like, oh, I've been kicked out of the hero's party and now I gotta go like do other stuff. And like, oh, I've seen that like 20 quadrillion times. I think I'll skip out on this one. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just there's too many of them, and so to stand out, they need to do like I don't know something.
Yeah, it just feels like they just kind of take the formula and just add some absurd aspect or long ass title for it to catch people's eyes, and then they check it out because of that gimmick. It just feels very gimmicky as a formula, and I get people will just watch slop all the time. I mean, you see it with people who don't watch anime, where they watch like the latest soap opera, which has questionable storylines and characters and bad acting or whatever, and they're still watching it like they don't care. Or the reality TV, a lot of the reality TV is very, very bad, but people still watch it. And yeah, I mean, people can watch it, and it's fair play. And yeah, there are some good ones out there, sure, but I don't know. I just want more overall creativity. I want to value like innovative ideas, and of course it's a tough ask because you're not going to get everyone coming up with something unique every time or whatever, or something that changes the ball game. Like that's almost impossible to ask every time. But I don't know. I just feel like this formula has been popular for like so long, and I'm just like rolling my eyes every time I see like a new one pop up on my social media. I'm like, oh my god, what are they doing? But
Yeah,
if
pretty
shit
already
sells, then
figured
it's
out.
gonna sell.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's not that I don't think they should be allowed to exist or something, but like I do wish that like we were. I don't know, a lot of anime gets made, like a lot of anime gets made, and I don't want to say like these don't deserve to ever see the light of day in terms of anime adaptations, but like so much of the industry's talent is just spread around doing different things. And it's like someone really talented could be stuck working on fucking uh this one, the Red Ranger in another world. Like we just stick in Power Rangers and these guys know. Like some people like this one, I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
there could be someone working on something far more interesting, but they're stuck working on that. And there's like, I mean, I'm just looking at the list. There's like probably a good like 10 isekai from this fucking season alone, and it's just too much. At what point do people just crave something different?
Yeah, they just know it's a formula for success. Like it's like the Suicide Squad anime. You just have DC and they're like, "Ooh, is this guy popular in Japan? Let's do it."
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. I am probably glad I didn't do that because I don't think I ever really heard any good things about it.
Yeah, I heard mixed things. Probably not as bad as the Killer Justice League game though. Oh my god.
I just don't mess with a lot of superhero stuff in general. Just I've never been into it, and now I'm like, I don't even watch superhero movies, and I'm
Me
superheroed
neither.
out.
Yeah. I wonder if that'll happen with Isekai where people just get Isekai'd out. Or we'll see. Because Japan's
I
like
had
a different audience altogether. So
I had a long time I really liked a lot of the superhero type movies. Um, but I don't know. After like Marvel, obviously big, huge franchise, millions of movies, etc., etc. Um, most people feel this. I feel as well. But after Endgame, everything happened. It just kind of felt like completed to me. You know?
Yeah. So there's like a fatigue around superheroes right now, and I don't know. It's just like there's all the. No, it's not even just movies now. Like now they have the Marvel TV shows and all this shit, and it's like just a giant media franchise that people still go and consume, but then they don't have the same feelings towards it. They still go see the next one anyway, and that's what feeds into it. Like people might be tired of this, but they still feel the need to watch the next one, and
Mm-hmm.
money has a lot of power, and the people who give the money is the common people. If the common people could stop giving money to things that are dog water, then maybe we get better things. But that doesn't happen because people are people, and that's how you end up with what's this one? Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big Four. That's how you get that. I don't even think I've heard of this one.
That's a crazy name.
Days. Quite a
Yeah,
name.
I don't know. Or like the online shopper in another daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world. Like who the fuck comes up with this shit?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to stick to. I mean, like currently I'm watching ReZero, but I've never been a huge fan of a lot of other isekais. So that's
You mean you
yeah.
didn't like the what was it? Sweet Reincarnation?
No, I
The
didn't like that
pastry
shit at all.
isekai?
No,
You
it
finished it.
wasn't. Yeah, I did finish it somehow. I mean, I kind of committed to it. I don't know. I just didn't like it at all. I think, yeah, I think the concept is cool. It's fine. I don't have an opinion on a strong opinion on the concept itself of an isekai. It's just there's just a lot of things that shows that come out that I just don't. It's not good enough for me to have interest in. I guess is the best way I can put it. So, yeah. Um. Oh, I had a question for you, Aeon. So, I was watching your video on is it Germany's influence on Japan on anime and
Oh
manga.
boy.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah. So like, we have this joke. I guess it's not a joke, but it's like I always complain that like a lot of the like in fantasy anime, the names of like characters are like based off German names, right?
Mm.
Like if you notice, like there are like a lot of isekais, right, that have just like they're kind of nonsensical names, but they're like kind of vaguely German just to make it sound like fancy, which I guess is like I don't know. We do it in the West too. We use like Latin or names or I don't know some Norse names in fantasy novels and movies to like make the name sound cool, right? So I have this
Yeah.
thing where I just like hate seeing like those like ridiculously long like German names. Um, I guess they're actually not German names, but whatever, German adjacent. So no, I found your video very interesting because it's like from a historical sense, I guess it makes sense, right? Because of like the German and Japanese like they were allies, during the
Yeah.
World War. Um, and then I think I can't remember if you mentioned a video or I saw it in a comment, but it was like um in Germany, I think it was in a comment, but like in Germany they have like a in Dusseldorf, I think they had like a festival like celebrating Japanese culture. Like it's a really big thing. Like not like a
Mm.
oh, it's just like a convention or something. Like it's an actual really really big thing. And then um like in Japan, like a lot of the pastries are based off like German pastries and breads and stuff like that. Like I don't know, I just found like the entire video like very interesting just because like it extends beyond anime and manga. It's just like Japanese culture as a whole has taken a lot from like Germany. I think you mentioned in your video as well, but like after the World War, like after the World War, and I guess like between World War One and World War Two, like Japan's like engineering and um, manufacturing systems, they all like came from German theory and practices that they had back in the day.
Mm.
Between the world wars and before or after World War Two as well. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say that I found that video really interesting because I think it's like a thing that I've kind of always wondered about is like why do all these fantasy shows have German names and why is there so much German influence? But I guess it does make sense, right? So
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, even
yeah,
though I did not expect it whatsoever to get over 1 million views. Like that blew
yeah.
me away.
I mean,
That was when my like production quality was like way down. Like I make
yeah,
better videos now into the production, but I was like, oh my goodness. And it
yeah.
made me think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do Toaru anymore. Maybe I should just do this type of content instead.
I think it's
Who
cool.
knows in the
I mean,
future?
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
And I've also noticed, and some people in the comments also mentioned it, that like some parts of the cultures in Germany and Japan are like very similar. Like people are very, very punctual. Uh like trains in Japan are like almost never late, and if they're late, it's like a huge deal. And like Germans are known for being very punctual. So it's just interesting to see like the parallels between the two countries. Like you can see it through the influences that you mentioned in anime, but it's like also true in real life, which makes a lot of sense, obviously, looking at history, but it
Mm,
is just cool.
yeah.
I thought it was a really it's like that kind of um I guess like analysis of culture through the lens of anime is culture and history through the lens of anime is something that's like understandably not as popular on YouTube, but I think you showed kind of that a video like that can do really well, and it's something that um I don't know, it's really interesting to me personally. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of people just oversimplified like German influence on anime and Japan, just saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, it's World War II," and the
Right.
comments were all like that, which made me want to make a response video where it was, "Why is anime obsessed with Nazis?" Which is kind of
That'd
clickbaity
be
title,
crazy.
but I
That would
really
get
are.
a lot of views and
Oh,
uh
I've already made it. I've already made it. I didn't make
oh
it,
you
but
have? I hadn't seen that. Um
yeah. It's kind of like a kind of a follow up video, kind of. It was just kind of like addressing the people who were saying, "Oh, it's just the Nazis," and then just simplifying it with that. Even though during World War II, like, listen, I've done history in university. I've got a
yeah, you're
degree,
more of
and
an expert on that than me, that's for sure.
and I got a master's as well. Not don't mean to brag. Sorry. It's completely useless. I'm still
Oh,
I'm
don't
still
worry.
poor.
Someone else in this call has a completely useless master's too.
Oh really?
I have
The problem is
one,
it's
but I don't
not.
know.
I just don't use it. No, you have a useful master. Shut up.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
You actually work in your field.
Well,
It's true.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. But yeah, back to the point. So yeah, I've been interested with German history, especially 20th century history. I really
Mhm.
enjoy studying World War One, World War Two, and I did learn about the Japanese and German part of World War One, which is kind of a niche topic that not many people
Yeah,
do know
it's
about.
not
They
something
just
that seems to be discussed a lot. Yeah.
yeah, they just see World War Two, even though during World War Two, Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan kind of mainly kept to themselves. They didn't really,
Yeah.
fight. They didn't fight alongside each other. They didn't really have that cultural exchange. But in World War One, where you had the Japanese actually on the British side attacking a German colony in China, and then they took German prisoners back to Japan. That's where you had proper cultural exchange, and that was just my theory. That I think that's had a larger impact on it. And sure, it's undeniable that the military aspects of the Nazis and everything have had an influence on not just Japan but pop culture as a whole. I mean, if you look at a stereotypical film in the 1950s or 60s, they're largely inspired off the Nazis in some shape or form,
Mhm.
and even to this day, you got stormtroopers and everything. Uh, That's the biggest example that I can think of. But overall, I think it's you have to look at everything. You can't just
Yeah.
simplify it and just say, "Oh, World War Two," and that's the reason why.
Yeah. And it's also like people forget that I forgot when exactly it was, but like sometime in the 19th century, I mean like prior to that, like Japan was in isolation for like I don't know 2 centuries or whatever, right? Like I forget like
Yeah.
I don't know 16th, 17th century, something like that. And then after that, there was like a huge push to like um accept things
Modernize.
from the West, right?
Yes.
I guess it was the Meiji Restoration or whatever, right? Like I think
Yes.
that's when
Yes.
they like yeah, they just have a lot of influence from the West during that time. You know, if you look at pictures back then, they were all wearing Western clothes and things like that. So it's like yeah, like you said, like focusing only on World War II kind of ignores the fact that like there were over half a century of them really taking a lot from many different countries in the West. So yeah. There's also like I'm like super interested in food and like cuisine and stuff like that, and kind of the culinary aspect of it all, and looking at different styles of cooking. And like a lot of people don't know that there was like a bunch of like exchange of like French and Japanese chefs during this time, and even after that caused Japan to be so good. I mean, kind of influenced Japan to be so good at making pastries, and now they're like one of the best countries in the world at making like pastries and desserts. So I think people just kind of miss the fact that like Japan was super into Western culture, and all of that prior to World War Two and World War One as well. So yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting because during that time, Japan was very willing to accept Western ideas and
Hmm.
innovations and technology, and they pretty much like fully embraced it because they realized, oh, we are completely behind. We need to strengthen ASAP, otherwise these Western powers are just going to take us over. And then they
Yep.
managed to defeat Russia in the Russo-Japanese War, I think in 1905, which was
Hmm.
seen as very impressive because Russia was seen as this, old imperial power with a lot of, you know, history and military might behind it, and then it was defeated by this relatively newcomer in the modern world, Japan, which was viewed as lesser back then, but all of a sudden it's modernized and actually defeated Russia in a war, which is very impressive. But it was complete opposite with China. China had an impressive history as well, but they were they had a mindset of the past. They still thought they were the bee's
Yeah.
knees. They
Yeah.
still thought they were the top of the world, when in fact they hadn't modernized at all, and then paid the price with the warlord period, and then the second Sino-Japanese war, where they were hanging on for dear life, basically.
Yeah. I going back to anime, actually, the thing I'm like, a lot of people. I mean, I think everybody knows that, like, if you've watched enough anime, you've noticed this is like something in the music, right? Like a lot of anime openings are based off like rock music, right? Like, and like Japanese rock music is like a huge thing there, right? Um, in Japan, and it's very interesting that, like, if you listen to, like, and it's not like I'm speaking kind of, I'm exaggerating and kind of simplifying it, but like if you look at like Chinese music, for example, like popular Chinese music, like there's not that nearly as much like a rock influence, which, I mean, to be honest, is kind of formed the basis of a lot of pop music, like rock music and electronic music. Is like they're huge influences in modern pop trends in you know the West for like the past 40, 50 years, right? And it's true in Japan as well. But it's like very interesting to see that, like, Japan has been like so accepting of Western cultures that the rock and roll wave that we had in the West in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, that actually transferred to Japan as well. But if you look at China, because like of their relative isolation, they didn't have that. So a lot of their popular songs like are just ballads or like slower songs that don't incorporate a lot of the themes from you know that time period where rock music and electronic music were popular from in like the late 20th century. So that's something interesting. It's just like you know how the political situation of different countries can influence like how their media is, like their music, the types of TV shows they have, things like that. So I don't know. I always find that interesting. That's like a aside, but yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about that actually. But
Yeah.
now that you mention it, I did know some people from China and when I was
Yeah.
at uni, and some of the music that, yeah, when I did listen to their music, it was, yeah, noticeably slower, but I didn't want to assume that's like all encompassing.
No,
But
it's not all of it, but
yeah,
it's very noticeable that it's like biased towards
yeah,
that, like especially compared to like the West for sure. So,
yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean, definitely.
yep. But it makes sense. They missed out on like, 30, 40 years of global, music trends. So, yeah. Um okay. I had another question if you guys don't have anything, but
No, go for it.
Sure.
I wondered
I'm
if you
vibing.
okay. Um are there any anime that you like really want to see that like you haven't gotten the chance to? Or are there any shows that you're like really
Ooh,
interested in that like just for whatever reason you just haven't gotten around to watching?
that's a great question. Honestly, I need to go on my plan to watch list because I
Oh, you
cannot
have like an
remember.
any list or something?
Yeah, I'm old school. I use my anime
My anime
list.
list?
Yeah, I've not swapped
That's fair, that's
since.
fair.
Oh, yeah, I've got like over 500 shows that I would want to watch at some point, but haven't gotten around to.
500 is crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, but going off the top of my head. Oh yeah, I like to. Yeah, I've heard. I feel like you kind of have to be like a hardcore fan of this, but like Gundam and that, and some like the other
I have
older
a friend
shows.
who's a big fan.
Yeah, I think like I've I haven't heard too much about it, but a lot of stuff at work on like Wolf's Rain I like, so I like to watch that at some point. Yeah, some of the older shows like
I haven't seen that one.
Harlock. I honestly just want to like binge through the classics because I feel
Yeah.
like I just want to be more cultured.
Like classics in terms of like how old?
Yeah, yeah. Well, on the medium. Oh
Or like some
God,
names.
Paranoia Agent. Yeah, this all comes to me. I've not seen Paranoia Agent. I want to watch like all of Satoshi Kon's movies. I've only seen Perfect Blue. Like I'm such a
Oh,
scrub.
yeah.
I should watch all of that. I want to watch more Ghibli movies. I haven't watched nearly enough.
I've
And
only
I've
watched
watched
one.
a few.
I
Uh,
I
but
probably watched at least one Ghibli movie.
I
You might
actually
have,
don't
yeah.
have not watched a single Ghibli movie.
no way.
This this
It's
listen,
crazy.
you haven't watched Ghibli movies, you're in the right podcast.
Yeah, I've only watched Spirited
Um
Away and I didn't like it, so
I think I watched
Well,
Totoro in high school when I was very much not into anime, but I was dating a girl who liked anime.
nice.
It's funny how that one came full circle.
Do you guys have anime you should watch or want to watch but haven't got around to?
Um,
Top of
I
your
got a
list?
laundry list, a waiting line.
this is a sore subject over on this side of the podcast.
Yeah, it's fine.
Approximately 108 anime that I want to watch and should watch. Not including sequels of said shows. So like Data Life 2 is on my current watching, of course. When I finish that, I will want to watch Data Life 3.
And 4.
Probably.
And then 5.
And then 4 and then 5. So we're not even counting that progression.
I have a friend who really wants me to watch Monster. The problem with Monster's 74 episodes.
Oh, I started that. It was so good, but I'm like, oh my god, I got to episode 6. I couldn't stop watching, and then I like, dude, this is too long. I'm gonna stop, even though I like it. I don't know.
I've seen it. I've seen it all.
But, it was really good, like genuinely really good when I started it.
Never heard a bad thing about it, but it is it long.
Yeah, I think that's one thing bad you could say about it is like the pacing. I remember when I watched it, I think it was around like episode 10 to 20. The pacing was kind of slowish, but it does pick up. I think around the halfway point. As soon as like Wolfgang Grimmer is introduced, I was hooked from that point. But yeah, I feel like some of the episodes are a bit slow paced. So you could say that. I think that might deter people from watching it because it's not as like, okay, you see like it's a psychological thriller, and you're like, oh, cool, it's gonna keep you on the edge of my seat. And for some episodes it does, but it's not like a Death Note where it's like leaves it on a cliffhanger every episode where you got to watch the next one.
I say it's too long, but like I also watched like 100+ episodes of fucking Love Live for a bit on this podcast, so it's just a mood thing.
In terms of stuff that I kind of want to watch that I haven't ever touched, I'm looking through my list because I was curious. There's a few random ones, but I don't know why I've always been interested by the Yugi Unit as a Hero series. I don't really have a reason.
Yeah.
I've just this one always like catches my eye every so often, and I'm like maybe one day. That one day hasn't come yet. And then also two other that come into mind. Gintama. No need to elaborate.
Oh yeah, some of my friends are obsessed with that show. But yeah.
I am a shonen bro at heart, and it sounds funny, but also much content. And Guilty Crown. That's another one that I kind of look at a lot. That's mostly just because I love the music from Guilty Crown.
Egoist.
Yeah.
Wait, is it Egoist? Yeah, it is. Okay, I watched the first half of Guilty Crown, but or like the first core. I guess I don't know. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I think the first like 11, 12 episodes, but I never finished it.
Those are three that I don't think I've talked about too much on the podcast because I've never actually attempted to start any of them, or have them on like my watching or anything. But those are three that come to my mind.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like, yeah, Gintama's on my list, and I know it's like really well received and well regarded by the fans, but I just keep hearing that you need to understand all the references to other anime, and I'm like thinking, do I well, have I seen enough anime or manga
to really get it
to watch it to get it? Yeah. So I'm always in like self doubt whether I should watch it or not. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, everyone who's watched it seems to really like it. So
it feels like the type of show that one day I'm gonna like just have to scratch the itch, and then it's just over. I'm just gonna watch like all of it.
Yeah, I think mine. For me, it's like like you mentioned, like a lot of the, I guess you could call it. I mean, I don't know if they're classics, but like there's some older shows that I still need to watch. Like for right now, I'm actually watching Clanad. So that's been good. And then I think it's just for me, it's tough because it's like I want to keep up with like some seasonals, but then I also want to like actually watch an older show. But Clanad is one. Which is like ridiculous. Actually, I still haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which that's also a show I want to see.
I haven't seen it either. It's okay.
It's like a funny one because it is very good, but it's also like the reputation it has almost deters people sometimes, right?
Yeah, I just want to see.
I think a lot of people see FMAP as like the Mal baby, and so it's like if I love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It was probably my favorite anime for a long time, or at least contending with Code Geass. But I think a lot of people kind of just see like the public's reaction with it and are like almost intimidated. Like, do I really want to get into that?
Yeah.
Is it because it's like this older thing that okay, it's been ranked #1 for a while, so it's got like stigma attached to it, like
Yeah,
this
I
recent show's come out, so it's surely better than this old thing.
yeah. My sister recently watched FMAB, and she was obsessed with it afterwards, and it was kind of funny just to watch that because I was like, that was probably me at about your age, also.
Yeah. So there's that I want to see as well, and then I'm trying to think. There was another one I think I mentioned last week that I want to see, but um, yeah, just some of the older shows that are like pretty highly regarded. I feel like, for lack of a better saying, I feel like I'm missing out, kind of, not having seen them. So
Yeah, you're really missing out not having seen Clint.
I mean, maybe I don't know. um, Yeah.
Little
Oh,
more
also another
there.
one I think I'd like is Psycho Pass. That's like one I think I started, but I never completed. So that's what I want to finish. So that's like my answer. Just those few shows. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
So actually, I had this thought when I mentioned 100 episodes of Love Live. I remember we started a tradition 6 months ago when we had our last guest. Every guest we have, I have a question. This is
Oh
very
yeah, I forgot about this.
yeah. This is something we ever since episode 100 we ask every single guest that comes on. But you're only the second guest since episode 100, so it's not as wasn't as set as
It'll
stone.
catch on, I promise.
I almost forgot about it because we haven't had any fucking guests for so long, which is my fault only. But all right. So I'm gonna give you 3 scenarios, right? And I want you to tell me which you think is the most toxic. All right. This is a big point of contention
Here we go.
for our episode 100. All right.
How will he make it sound better than it is this time?
I am somewhat intrigued about where this is going.
Okay.
There's
okay.
an agenda here.
So in episode 100, there's a character in the Love Live series that PK and many other people that I know absolutely despise. And so I went and I watched every episode of Love Live that exists, and I did not think she was the most toxic by like a wide margin. In fact, I actually really liked the character. And so now, every time we have a guest, I give 2 toxic scenarios from the show, and then I also put in the one that they think is the most toxic. And I explain them to the guest, and the guest will choose and prove me correct. Is basically the idea here.
Whoa. This sounds like you're influencing.
What? No,
The guest
he doesn't know anything about this. The guest will choose.
The guest
yes.
will choose.
The guest will choose.
Might not prove you correct.
I've seen season 1 of Love Live. That was a long time ago.
The original Love Live, this doesn't
The
count.
rest of it.
Don't worry, you're not prepared. Actually,
Okay.
you're not that prepared.
Okay,
Maybe a little.
I have randomized the list by which I will do the order of this, so there's no bias in terms of which order I introduce them. It is completely randomized. And so I will start with this. Scenario 1. There was a girl who, her friend had a piano thing in another country. Basically, she was going to have to leave the group, right? In order to pursue this. And they hadn't won Love Live. But they're, a classic Love Live trope. Their school was in danger. But by that point in the season, they'd already saved the school. So there's no technical reason to need to continue the whole idol shtick. But upon learning that she was intending to go to another country, quit the group, to pursue this piano thing, she got into a big fight with her in front of the other members, and she slapped her. Now, scenario number 2, obviously every scenario ends up with them making up, so that's the ending for all these, but number 2, there was someone who had not yet joined the group, but she saw the popularity of the group and decided that she was going to go up to them and be their, like, quote, social media manager, kind of. But instead she was, she didn't really let them know anything about their popularity or anything like that. So she just extorted them for, like, YouTube views. I mean, in the Love Live world, this shit's popular. So she was making a lot of money off of these people, basically extorting them financially. And even at one point, was going to attempt to basically, like, sow seeds of drama in the group in order to make it seem like they were breaking up and cause, like, internet drama for views, all behind their back. And then number 3, there was a girl whose friend had decided, it's kind of similar to number 1, she had a dream that she kind of settled on, and the friend who learned about this kind of freaked out a little bit because they had been together for so long, and whenever she expressed this dream to her, she kind of asked her, like, not to do it. And they were pretty distant from each other for a bit. Didn't, like, bring it in front of other people. No slapping. So not, like, as intense as the first, but basically kind of trying to be selfish and drag her away from that so she would be with her more still, because she felt they had been kind of drifting apart because in that particular Love Live they were doing more solo stuff, and there were a lot of members that the other girl was hanging out with. So that's kind of my explanation of the 3. Now, of the 3, which would you think is the most toxic?
The most toxic, I'd say number 2.
All right, you see,
See, this is fair. This is fair. We've had this debate a few times, and I've come more to be like, so the character for number 2 sucks. Just in general.
yeah, so the one they all hate is number 3, the one who just had, like, a little bit of a freak out, and she didn't like to bring it up.
But they are best friends forever, for life. They have known each other forever.
Right.
And finally, Yu has a dream that she wants to pursue that is not part of Ayumu's agenda. And Ayumu just is like, no, I want you to be mine forever. Don't follow your dream.
She never explicitly said don't follow your dream. Also,
She
didn't.
did say
She kept the drama between them two. She didn't bring it to anyone else.
that's true.
She
I'll give you
could have
that.
easily
She did keep it
flipped.
between
Could
those
have
two.
easily flipped out on, you know, any of the other members, but she didn't do that. And then they settled it pretty easily by the end. Natsumi, which is number 2, she was the extortionist. She's my
Natsumi's
least.
just a terrible
she's-
gremlin. Yeah.
She's my least favorite character in the entire series. Her, like, entire personality for season 2 is just built off being a fucking, like, she's like the Mr. Krabs of anime, honestly.
Mr. Krabs of anime.
Yeah, and then if you watch the
Number
first season of Love
1,
Live, you actually
yes.
would have seen Honoka, who's the main character. You probably don't remember, but you would have
No.
seen that play out.
What is that? Did that happen in season 1?
Yeah, it was season 1.
Oh.
Yeah, but you know, I don't remember what Mumi chose, but he didn't choose Ayumu, so I'm 2 for 2 on this little question here. So thank you for proving me right. I really appreciate it.
I just don't.
I mean, slapping is hard. But, well, I've slapped my brother over some dumb shit. So, I mean,
I've said it before.
That's like, I don't know. That's like emotional manipulation. But I think like the extortion thing and that's like a really like kind of like conspiracy kind of thing. So I feel like that's the worst.
I just hate the concept, and I get it, right? And I think within the frame of the question, yeah, those are both 2 more toxic acts in a vacuum, right? But I hate the concept of, like, your best friend finally has a dream or something they want to pursue, and your first reaction is not to support them wholeheartedly, within reason, right? If her dream was to go become a stripper, then it's like, whoa, maybe let's talk about this. but I don't know. I hated that plot point. And to be fair, I don't remember when I watched OG Love Live. I have very little memory of the Honoka scene. But if I watched that in the current day, I probably would hate that just about as much too. So I don't particularly like Honoka.
But yeah. And yeah, eventually I'll get better at asking the question. I need to like just write a script or something. I
I
probably
do
told
think
it differently than I did the first time.
I
But
do think you spent a lot of time on number 2, which I don't mind because
it's like the
that one.
easiest to explain in like without giving away. Like, yeah, she's just an extortionist. I don't know how to. I don't know.
I'm perfectly fine with the conclusion being Natsubi is the most toxic. Because at least Ayumi's cute. But
All right.
what? However, comma, a lot of time spent in deep detail about the extortion into the next one being like, well, but I mean, she didn't hit her. She was just had a little freaky.
All right. Anyway, I don't remember what movie chose, but besides the fact that
I
I
feel
think
like
he
it was
chose
the same.
Honoka, but I don't remember.
He might have chosen Hanukkah.
That's a 3-hour guest video, so I don't think I'm going back through that to figure out the answer. Maybe I should start writing these down, just have like a history of who's the most toxic. But I guess speaking of cute girls, very important question: who's the best girl in Toaru?
Oh, for me, listen,
Wait, who is the one
I
that
know
like?
there's a lot of waifu wars in the fandom. Not gonna lie, but for me, it has to be Shokohomi Saki, the 5th rank level 5, which is Misaka's rival. If you haven't seen
Wait,
Railgun S or Railgun T,
what was her name? Shoki.
Homi Saki.
I can post like a GIF real quick.
Oh, the
Just
blonde
like
girl.
an Ojo-sama type of character. I hate Ojo-sama,
I'm in.
so...
I'm in.
Well, she's not like
She's a
the.
blonde.
Listen, technically, Toaru has a lot of Ojo-samas, but
They
she's
do.
not the Ojo-sama. Like, that's
Don't
Kongo.
worry.
Kongo is the rich, knobbish girl
Don't
who
worry.
flexes
I
that she can replace an entire satellite.
don't worry.
What do
I
you call
don't
it?
know what that word
Thing.
means. I just saw she was blonde. That's where we're at.
Yeah, satellite dish. She's like,
What
oh
was
yeah,
the
my
one
dad
that
can pay for that.
who's the one that I liked? I think it was the Twin Tails girl.
Oh,
For
Kuroko.
I mean, I don't know enough to really have like a real opinion, right? Yeah, the teleport girl.
Yeah, she's I wouldn't say she's definitely a goober. It's interesting seeing her in like Index, where it's like a bit more serious, and then like Railgun is just completely off the walls.
She doesn't necessarily feel like a character that like long term I will like the most, but from the little I've seen, she's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a bit of a interesting reputation because she is just so unhinged for Misaka that she will grope the hell out of her. She tries to drug her with aphrodisiacs. Like, she is completely batshit crazy when it comes to
Yeah.
Misaka. Yeah,
Oh,
she's
insane.
completely thirsty. She's
It's a toxic Yuri.
yeah, toxic Yuri. Yeah. She is a complete gremlin. But but when you remove Misaka out of the equation, or when she is more serious, people actually like her, and
Mhm.
she's a good character. Was whether people can tolerate her as a character. And I did make a video about her, how she's kind of controversial. She's got these two sides to her, but that's kind of like the point of a character, because her name's Shirai Kuroko. It includes both white and black, so she has a white side, which is the good side, and a black side, which is the negative side. So yeah, I think that was the point.
All right, so when do I meet this blonde girl?
In Index, it's I don't remember. And Railgun, was it Railgun S or T that she should? She might honestly be in the first. I don't remember. She's more prominent in Railgun T, but I don't remember how if she like shows up in S or.
It says she shows up in S.
Okay.
So yeah, she gets a 1 episode cameo in Railgun S. She wasn't even meant to appear in that point. Like, they decided to shuffle her debut scene from the manga in the previous arc for whatever reason. But yeah, she's an actual main character in the 3rd season, and then She doesn't appear in Index until the second part of the light novel. So if we get an Index season 4, we'll probably see her make a debut in Index.
Does she get her own series?
Yeah, she does. She's got a certain scientific mental
Nice.
out.
Nice.
Her
That's all.
Esper name is mental out. She can control people's minds, so she's like a Professor X kind of character.
Nice.
Yeah, my
You have my
favorite in
attention.
the series is Satin. She doesn't appear in Index, except for the movie. For some reason, they put her in there, but they won't actually put her in the. They won't even show her in the actual Index. But yeah, she's like Railgun, more specific to that.
You can
She-
see her in the very first opening of Index. But that's,
yeah, she's in
that's
the
about
opening. And they don't fucking put her anywhere else. It's
Wait, that's
so funny.
it.
It was a joke, me and my friend, because like my friend and I both liked her character at least, just because like she's, I don't know, she's like she has no powers basically. I mean, technically she does, but her power level is so low that she can't really use them. But she'll like go into like fights and stuff. She'll have like a fucking baseball bat, so you know, she's an endearing character basically.
Hell yeah.
And so we went into Index, and then like we see her in the opening, then we never see her throughout the entire series, and just find it really funny.
How many level 5s are there?
There's 7
Can't
at the
that
moment.
many. Nice. I
Yeah.
need no more information. I love little fact about me. I love arbitrary lists slash like not really rankings, but like the level 5 espers, right? Stuff like that. I love little like groups that they make for all. I'm a sucker for it. That's why I love Shonen, right? Because you watch
Mhm.
Shonen and it'll be like, you know, the Akatsuki in Naruto, and I'm like, hell yeah, I eat that shit up. That's the only reason I ask how many level 5s there are, because I'm like, yes, prestigious group of limited amount of people. I love it.
Yeah, especially when it's in Academy City, there's over 2 million espers, and only 7 of
Mhm.
them have reached level 5. And there is an explanation in the lore about that. I mean, the Toaru lore is pretty in depth,
Is
as
this
you would
lore?
probably expect from a franchise
Yeah.
this big.
Is this
But it's
lore
essentially,
realistically I would get to, or is this lore that exists somewhere far outside the reaches unless I jump straight into the rabbit hole?
this is kind of rabbit hole stuff. You kind of have to read the
Okay.
light novels to have a grasp of it. But yeah, essentially, espers are made in Academy City because they're pumped full of drugs and they have to do experiments to develop powers. But most people aren't meant to have powers. Then, there's kind of like a divide between those who are seen as talented and those who have no talent.
Mhm.
As the people who are like classed as having no talent, their traditional route would be to pursue magic rather
Yeah.
than become espers. As magic was created, this is like the very beginning of like the timeline. Like magic was created as a system for people to catch up with like the natural espers called gemstones.
Wasn't this a whole
Um,
plot line in the start of Index? I don't know. I feel like I remember a bunch of stuff with the guy and the whole
yes.
like.
Now that you mention it, there is. I think it's episode at the end of episode 2. Yes, Index does mention about how magic was developed to catch up with espers. I think, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
more expanded upon in
vaguely.
like New Testament. Yeah, there is like a throwaway line. I think it's expanded upon in the light novel for that volume,
Gotcha.
but definitely more so in New Testament. Yeah, which is the part 2 of the light novel.
I see.
Yeah, it is pretty in depth.
Yeah.
I would hope it's in depth for like the quadrillion novels that it has by this point. It's like when people say like One Piece has crazy world building. Like I'd fucking hope so. After like 1,000 chapters of One Piece, gotta have a crazy world.
Okay, you say that, but right now I'm gonna look up how many novels there currently are for In Another World with my smartphone. My goat.
In Another World, my
30.
smartphone
30
could not have.
volumes.
There's no way it has 30 fucking volumes.
30 volumes.
Alright,
The
well,
newest one came out digitally in November of this past year.
maybe the world building in Isekai's smartphone actually goes hard, and we just
It
don't know
might
because we've
actually
never read
pop
it.
out. I like the first season. It's still going on, which I was kind of not expecting, but I do feel like we kind of check on smartphone every so often, and it's always still going. So I should expect it. But at some point, it's got to end. How much can you do on a smartphone?
30 volumes worth, apparently.
Although I guess by that logic, technology is currently advancing with stuff like smartphones. So as long as smartphones keep evolving in real life, there's more inspiration for the writing. Easy. Anyway, 30 volumes of In Another World in my smartphone. That's the takeaway here. The GOAT.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I guess we can go on for like an hour 20. If we have any other questions or comments we want to make, I mean, we still have time, obviously, but
I think I saw your other video about British culture.
Oh, is this where
Oh,
we
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about Greg's?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
This is what I've
Greg.
been waiting
find a way
for.
to work it in.
I love chicken
Oh.
bakes.
Chicken bakes is good. I mean, yeah. Listen, I'm a
Never had-
northerner. I can
never
talk
had one.
about Greg's all day long. It's no problem with me. But yeah, I love steak bake. Steak bake's regarded as the goat.
Daniel knows I've been waiting for that one. I couldn't bring the one to bring up Greg's. Okay, video about British culture. Anyway, on to important spatula things.
No, I was just saying. I am interested in watching that video and the what is it? Your counter to the German what Nazi what was it like? Nazis'
Is
influence
my
on
anime obsessed with Nazis? Like these kind
yeah.
of
Why
videos,
is
like
it? Yeah,
follow the
sorry, I
same
forgot the
title formula. Yeah, I just go.
yeah.
Why is X obsessed with X?
Yeah, I want to watch that British one though. That one's interesting because I mean, yeah, I cannot think of anything off the top of my head. I'm curious. Can you give me some hints for what's covered in that video, or do you want? I guess I have to wait, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, it does follow similar formula to the German
Mhm.
video, or it's not as extensive about the world wars as much. It's more, yeah, I do talk a bit about like the 19th century Meiji history again, a little bit on
Hmm.
that. But it's also the similarities between Britain and Japan, as we're both island nations with a strong emphasis on the navy, and yeah, it's basically go from there. It's been a while since I've watched it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'll watch it and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one is. I think that was one of my best videos. I do recall like the production value is much better than the German one, and I did, yeah, enjoy making it. I think I did it pretty well with the editing as well. So hope you enjoy.
I like how. So
Yeah.
I went to the channel because I was curious. Saw your members only videos reacting to
Oh yeah,
Index episodes. Have you watched the Index anime before? Or are these videos? This is such a weird random plug, but I saw them. I'm just curious now. Have you watched the Index anime before, or is this actually like semi-blind?
so I've watched it before. It was a long time ago since I watched all the anime. So what I wanted to do with that is rewatch the anime from a light novel reader's perspective, and then
Hmm.
comment upon any changes or my thoughts about how stuff was adapted, and yeah, basically offer like a different perspective of it. I stopped doing that, but I really need to go back to the members only stuff. That's definitely a priority for me, but time is limited.
You have
No,
a
I'm like so
Patreon
busy
too,
just making videos. My
I just
standard
saw
videos,
them.
so
I saw them, and I was curious if that's something that's like completely fresh, or well, not completely, but fair.
yeah. I mean, I can pretty much recite most of the events of like Index season 1 and 2 off the top of my head, mainly because I've reread parts and yes, gone back to certain scenes and My memory for like that is pretty good. It's just some of the light novel stuff that happens after the anime. I think I struggle to
Wait.
remember, and I had to revisit stuff for a
Shiro
video.
Emiya in a thumbnail. Let's go.
Yeah, I
From a
made a
year
video
ago.
about Toma and Shiro, so
Yes.
comparing them because they are quite similar in the fact that they're just guys who are regarded as like not the most skilled, because Shiro's pretty much a noob at the start
Yeah.
of Fate Stay Night, and Toma's level 0, and then they got this obsession of saving others, and it's like, oh, these two are carbon copy. Are they overhated? Are they generalized by other anime fans who just see them as boring generic heroes, or is there more substance to their characters than meets the eye? So I thought that'd be an interesting video to make.
I will watch that later because I didn't notice this until now, and I am a Fate head.
Although apparently I got part of Gilgamesh's goal wrong. Apparently,
Oh.
I got that wrong,
What
but
did you?
ignore that and you should be good.
Yeah,
I'm not the
yeah.
biggest like Fate buff. I'm way more of an Index nerd, like as you already know.
Yeah, we all have our rabbit holes. Yours is Toaru. Mine is Fate.
Yeah, fair.
Daniel's is ReZero. Spatula is being a successful person. What?
I appreciate it, but that's I don't know about that.
I don't know. You keep posting on Instagram all these pictures of you in Vegas. This is
Dude,
not
Vegas is lit.
podcast related.
That's fine.
I just keep seeing all these Vegas pictures. I'm like, okay, big shot.
No. I'm down 300. I'm down 300 at the casino, so I
Are you
don't want
down
to
at
talk
the
about
casino? Never mind. Not my goat.
it. Yeah.
I always
That's
leave the
guy, by
house
the
up.
way, I can't win at blackjack, which
I
yeah,
always leave the
that
house
should
up.
tell you everything. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess before we end off here, I think you said before in the precast, we brought up the Gregs, but there was like a misconception you wanted to clear with like the Tesco
Oh,
meal
you're
deal.
right.
Well, we'll end on
Okay,
that.
yeah. So,
Speak your truth.
all right. So I know Sea Dog VA has advocated for the Tesco meal deal for the international audience who are uninitiated in regard to meal deals in the UK. And listen, once upon a time, I think, Tesco meal deal, decent. But I feel like the other supermarket chains now are ahead of the curve. Because, listen, you go to Sainsbury's, aka Sainzo's, they do like, you get like you go to over to the salad bar, you can get like fresh salad with pasta and everything as part of your meal deal. And you can go and get like chicken, you can get hot food like pastries as well, part of your meal deal. So you get that, a drink and a little snack as well. But if you go to Tesco, it's literally just like cold sandwiches. You just go and even then, like, listen, I love a butty me, but if you go over there to where the sandwiches are, it's like bloody plain ham, nothing in it. Okay, you'll get like the BLT or whatever. You'll get like I don't know what else you got in there, but they're just all like the basics. I feel like Morrison's and Sainsbury's, they just, I suppose it depends which store you go to, because I'm sure there are, differences. And even with Tesco, you got Tesco Express, which is like a mini version of a Tesco, which is even less options. So that further dampens the reputation of Tesco, in my opinion. So overall, I think for choice and quality, Morrison's, Sainsbury's, Morries and Sainzo's outranks Tesco, in my opinion. And that's my rant over.
So the core of this, if I'm following, because I agree with this this very simple take I'm about to say that is a little what you're saying, little dot. Hot sandwiches greater than cold sandwiches.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, if I have a choice between, do I want a hot food or cold food? I usually go hot food. But listen,
I would
like,
agree.
if there's like a really nice sandwich filling that's cold, I'll go for that. But listen, every time I was at work when I was living down south, I'd go to Sainsbury's and I'd see the hot food little counter, keep them warm. And I got like sausage rolls, I got like pies and stuff. I'm like, I'd rather have one of those than have a cold sandwich in the fridge. Like, come on.
I agree with this. I am a big when I travel a lot, I tend to like to drive places rather than fly just because I enjoy driving. It's very therapeutic for me, right? And so obviously when I'm driving 14 hours halfway across the U.S., I'm not going to be stopping for like food most of the time. Most of the time, what I do on those drives is it's literally I stop at a gas station or like a little convenience place like that. The trick is you go to the trucker stations because they have the good food. As opposed to like a Shell or something like that that's just gonna have whatever. But anyway, and I have faced a similar version of this dilemma many times where it's I always want to make sure I'm stopping at a gas station that's gonna have nice hot food generally, rather than having to get something from the like cold sandwiches stock that everywhere has. Which is not quite the same, but it is the general idea of just like I've had this experience a lot of like having to think about like, oh, I would much rather be able to stop and get like cooked,
I hate
like
cold sandwiches.
nice
I don't
hot food as opposed to like a nice like deli sandwich can be good, but most of the time, if I'm going for like an actual meal, it's not what I want.
Yeah, and plus, when it comes to a matter of price, you're paying roughly the same. I mean, you can go to Sainsbury's, whatever, and pay like an extra £1.50 for a better meal deal, but you're paying like £5 for that in total. And I'll convert that to dollars for you.
Yeah, how much is a
Uh,
quid?
That's basically British slang for pound.
Gotcha.
So that's
I
like
see.
£6.50 for like an upgraded meal deal. But meal deal is meant to be cheap. It's meant to be a deal because you get a drink and a snack and a main.
Does the $5 footlong still exist? Sorry, ADHD moment.
$5 foot. No, it's
No
probably like
way that it still exists,
no, it
right?
does not exist. No.
Is that a Subway?
Yeah,
That's Subway, yeah.
Oh, I don't know about the US, but Subway in the UK, the price has gone up so much more now because of like the economy and
Apparently,
everything.
it's $7
Like,
now.
hell.
I don't know the
Yeah.
last time I've been in a Subway, but I'm sure it's the same.
Oh wait, no, $7 is limited time with the code 699FL. I don't know what the actual price is, but they just like don't. They're like hiding the fucking price of the foot long for a limited time.
That's what this conversation makes me think of is Subway's fall off. It's the
Okay,
same.
Subway's footlongs can now run anywhere between $8 to $15.
Subway, Handshake, what was it, Tesco? Both
Well, to be
falling
honest,
off.
I choose Subway over Tesco, but I mean, Subway's more expensive, but it's better quality for what you get. Tesco is like, it's just basic.
Yeah.
Like for what you get, it's just yeah. Because in Subway as well, you get to choose the type of bread you got. The bread's always pretty good. All the
Yeah, customization's
fillings you
always
get.
nice.
Yeah.
Wonder how different our Subway is though as compared to the UK one, because I think they like declared Subway's bread like cake in Europe or something, so they like had to change it. I don't know.
What?
I had so much
Yeah.
fucking sugar in it. They're like, yeah, this shit's like basically cake. You gotta change that.
That's hype.
Yeah.
But also
I
what?
do hear like what do you call it, like the food standards over in the US is like a lot worse than they are in Europe.
I think like the
They're more
majority of what our
strict.
food is made out of is
Yeah.
probably like banned in most other countries, so that's just kind of where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subway bread is not bread according to Irish court.
Nice.
And they're probably right. I think they had something else that like wasn't actually. I don't remember what it was. It was like their tuna or something. It wasn't actually tuna. I don't remember.
It's crazy. The hell.
Wait, what's up? Okay, the lawsuit was dismissed. So maybe I guess they do have 100% tuna. That or they just didn't care enough to continue.
It says that the Subway bread, according to Irish law, hovers the borderline between cake and biscuits.
Based.
Yeah, based for sure. Also, the McDonald's Big Mac bun, more sugar than that. Fun fact. Bro, some of the words I'm seeing on this don't look weird or don't look real though.
Like
Pret stone baked lozenge super baguette. I don't. Hold on.
You
Let
good?
me. Let me. I'll give you a picture of this. I definitely some of those pronunciations wrong. Um, and it's just a normal soup baguette, I believe. But I don't know at least two of these words.
I think the
That's
fact
a
we're talking
mouthful.
about
Literally.
stone baked soup baguettes probably means we're at the end of the episode.
What do you mean? That's what podcasts are about.
Yeah, but I think Spat said an hour 40 and we're at hour 35, so that's where we're gonna end it. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, comment, subscribe, rate 5 stars, all that good stuff. Aeon, if you want to let the viewers know where they can find you real quick.
Yeah, sure. So YouTube is Aeon of Horus, all one word. Then you got Twitter/X, Aeon Crowley, and Insta, Aeon of Horus YT.
Alright, so you can go to any of those, or you can look into the description, and I will probably, at worst, put his YouTube channel and every other link I can find, probably, but at least his YouTube will be down there, and I'm sure you can, you probably have your links set to that. But yeah, that'll be the end of this episode. Thank you to our guest for making the time for us and coming on.
Thank you.
Hopefully the next guest won't take another 6 months to get on, but we'll know.
Whoa. You take all the blame for that.
I know. I said, hopefully,
I'm just making it clear.
I'm just saying, hopefully, it's not another 6 months, I'm not saying it was his fault. It was my fault for not reaching out for
Right?
however long.
My boy here did his part.
He did do his part. You were very easy to schedule with, and I very much appreciate that. Anyway.
It actually was surprisingly smooth and easy.
Yep.
When he told us the time zones and everything, I was like, oh no, this is going to be months in the cooker.
Yes, but thankfully
Well,
we timed it well enough.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys making
Thank
time
you.
for me. The time zone differences and that. And yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you all, so appreciate it.
Alright. Where was I in the outro? Audio only listeners, if you like to go to the YouTube, Is the Order an Anime Podcast? Can't possibly miss us. Same thing for YouTube to audio only, Is the Order an Anime Podcast? We are the only ones. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. EST without fail, except for when we do, there will be a new episode out for you to enjoy. So, once again, thank you for listening, and we hope to see you in another episode. Thank you, and goodbye.